48-year-old Sunshine Stewart was reported missing after she never returned from a paddleboarding trip in Maine on July 2nd. The next day, Sunshine's body was found in Crawford Pond. Now, 17-year-old Devin Young has been charged with her murder, and today, new details about his time at the campground before and after the alleged murder. But first, Florida teen Madeline Soto had just celebrated her 13th birthday when she was reported missing in February of 2024. Days later, her body was discovered. When police began to look into Madeline's mother's boyfriend, Stephan Stearns, what they found was even more disturbing. Stearns' phone contained dozens of photos and videos of him sexually abusing Madeline, dating back to when she was only 8 years old. The material on the cell phone led to more than 60 charges related to sexual abuse, and then he was charged with her murder. Stearns initially pled not guilty in both cases, but today, in an effort to avoid the death penalty, Stephan Stearns stood in a courtroom and changed his plea.
Stearns, how do you plead to first-degree premeditated murder in 24 CF 1293?
No contest.
And ask you counts 1 through 8, capital sexual battery of Madeline Soto while she was under the age of 12. Counts 9 through 13, sexual battery of Madeline Soto between the ages of 12 and 18. And counts 14 through 20, lewd or lascivious molestation. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Welcome to Closing Arguments. I'm Ted Rowlands filling in for Vinnie Politan. Tonight we're going to begin the hour in Florida where Stephan Stearns, the man who molested and then murdered a 13-year-old girl, will be spending the rest of his life in prison. Madeline Soto celebrated her 13th birthday with friends and family, and then the next day she was gone. According to prosecutors, her mother's boyfriend, who had been molesting her since she was 8 years old, killed her and dumped her body. And today, Stephan Stearns entered guilty pleas on the sex crimes, but a no contest for Madeline's murder, meaning he accepts the conviction, but he doesn't admit guilt. In the courtroom, the judge heard statements from victims, family members who have suffered since Madeline's life was taken, including Madeline's father, Tyler Wallace. You're going to hear what he had to say in just a bit. But a big question people were having in the courtroom was, where was Jen, Madeline Soto's mother? She was noticeably absent from today's proceedings. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas was there. He was on the ground. He's on the ground in Florida. He was in the courtroom. Let's start, Cody, with those victim impact statements.
Yeah, Ted, those statements were incredibly emotional. Tears were flowing through the gallery. Tears were flowing from the people giving the statements. The gallery was filled with family, friends, loved ones, and even people down here in the Kissimmee community. Just very sad, just very somber as some of those statements were given. And Ted, you just mentioned no Jen Soto, no statement even read on behalf of Madeline's own biological mother. But we did hear a written statement from Madeline's grandmother, Madeline's aunt, roommates who lived with Madeline and Jen at the time of Madeline's death. Let's take a listen to some of those impact statements right here, right now.
Having a full night's sleep became a luxury I could not afford. I was too anxious to sleep, constantly wanting to wake up from a nightmare. It wasn't until I started wishing death on him that I realized I needed help.
Every day I feel like life is not worth living anymore because such a heinous evil exists in this world. There is not a day that goes by where I do not think about all the pain and suffering that Maddie endured. This monster took advantage of her trust and her innocence.
Now, Ted, Madeline's biological mother, Jen Soto, was not there, but her biological father, his name is Tyler Wallace. He was there. He gave an emotional impact statement saying as the days go on, as time goes on, his life feels like it only gets worse rather than the other way around. Of course, we hear time heals all, but he said for him it's the exact opposite. Take a listen to what he had to say to the court.
The last time I saw her was in October of 2023, and she had come to visit for a few days. And when I took her back to the airport, I said, you know, you're turning 13 soon. When you turn 13, you have a choice of which guardian you're interested in staying with. Would you like to stay with me and Tati? And she said yes, that she would. And so I was this close to having my little girl, sir. Because of the actions of this depraved man, I will never meet the woman she was becoming. You're depraved. You're weak. You're a coward. You're a sneak thief. You crept into a family and took advantage and exploited them when they were weak.
So, Ted, you heard those statements there from Madeline's father, other family members, other loved ones on behalf of Madeline. Just overarchingly a very sad, emotional day, but there's no doubt that Madeline Soto, that now deceased 13-year-old, was very loved within the people in her life and this community.
Yeah, you can hear the emotion over television. I can't imagine what it was like inside that courtroom. What, at the end of the day, what would the judge sentenced him? What was the ultimate sentence?
Well, Ted, of course, you know the prosecution recused their intent to enforce the death penalty on both of those cases, the sex crimes case where he was charged with 60 counts of child porn, child sex crimes, and the murder case ultimately of Madeline Soto. But just because they took away that death penalty doesn't mean that he will ever see the light of day again. Take a listen to the judge's sentence.
The court has had an opportunity to hear the anguish and the fury of shattered families. Everyone in the gallery has had an opportunity to hear the anguish and the fury of a community mourning and permanently diminished. Folks joining us around the state and the country remotely have heard the opportunity to hear the anguish and fury of a meaningful future that was stolen and a beautiful promise of Madeline Soto's life extinguished permanently. Stephan Stearns, you have had the opportunity to hear that anguish and fury from your actions. As to first-degree premeditated murder of Madeline Soto, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As to the capital sexual battery of Madeline Soto while she was under the age of 12, for each count, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the sexual battery of Madeline Soto between the ages of 12 and 18, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the lewd and lascivious molestation of Madeline Soto, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. These sentences will run concurrently, meaning at the same time. The state of Florida has withdrawn their notice of intent to seek the penalty of death. These are the maximum sentences permitted to the court.
So you heard it there, Ted. The judge threw the book at him, life without parole across the board. And you heard him say there, all of those sentences will run concurrently. So Stephan Stearns will not be getting out ever for the rest of his natural life.
What about the defendant? This is the worst of the worst. What did he have to say for himself?
Well, Ted, he was oddly sentimental. He told the court that he still thinks about Madeline every day and he'll never stop missing her, and that her death tore his family apart. It was all very strange. Take a listen to how he addressed the court.
I agree that it's not fair that Madeline is not here anymore. I still have a hard time contemplating a world where she's not around, a world which feels less vibrant and less colorful than it did before. I've prayed to God countless times to trade places with her, to take me instead. And unfortunately, that's just not how he works. I have nothing but sorrow for her loss, and I miss her all the time. Her passing has torn me and my family apart as well. And she truly was a joy. I pray to God that she is in heaven and that he's taking good care of her. And I hope she gets to join the choir because she had a beautiful voice. I will miss her all the time. I will never not honor her memory. And I apologize for all the pain.
So Ted, very strange there, as he is now the man who was accused and now convicted of raping, abusing, and ultimately killing Madeline Soto. But again, never seeing the light of day again. He'll die behind those prison bars.
Yeah, he is something else. That is about as disgusting a statement as a person in his position can make, saying that he misses her. Wow, I wonder why she's gone. Cody Thomas, thank you, as always, for your reporting throughout the day. Let's bring in the tank. Criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III is with us. Criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland, they come in a pair, and Jennifer Brandt, family attorney, law. Let's start with you, Jennifer. What do you take from that statement from this guy? I mean, if I'm a family member, I'm pulling my hair out listening to, it's just disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that he'll miss her, but look what he did to her. I mean, he abused her, he raped her, he ultimately killed her. Yeah, she was a part of his life, and he took advantage of her. And I believe he feels remorse, but he has to understand that, you know, he's a monster, and the family will never forgive him for what he did, and he'll have to live with that for the rest of his life. And I hope in prison he does think about it every day, but I don't think it'll change anything. I mean, just what you hear about what he did is just so disturbing. I don't think, I'm glad that he took the plea and that we didn't have to sit through a whole trial of this, but it doesn't really help the situation.
Yeah, I mean, the fact he's thinking about her. He's thinking about her every day.
Yeah.
But he's not saying, he never said he was sorry. He's saying God somehow orchestrated this. Good golly. Darnell, what's your take on his no contest on the murder? He pled guilty to the child porn, but he wouldn't plead guilty to the murder. Why? What do you think's going on there?
Yeah, this whole thing is confusing, and I'm just really outraged because one, I'm not sure he would have got a ticket to heaven, but you know, if he was so concerned, he would have just go ahead and acquiesced to the death penalty. And so instead of being just a coward and trying to just stay alive, the reason why he wouldn't plead guilty to the murder, you know, I think based on his sort of I disagree with Jen a little bit that I don't think he showed any remorse. He was still trying to be self-serving. And I think he has a narcissistic personality and wouldn't allow him to plead guilty to the murder. He's not getting out anyway. But we see these people in these spaces, they just want to win, or they want to have the last word, or they want to feel like, again, they got some type of door prize. So, you know, that's probably why. But he's screwed up in the head. I wish the judge didn't have to have judicial temperament and could really say some choice words and not have to just read this thing so blasé, like it's business as usual. I'm sick of these cases, and I think the judge needs to reach across the bench and give him a tongue lashing, and I would endorse that.
Yeah, I think everybody would. Al, the decision to enter into this agreement, we're seeing it play out in Idaho with the Kohlberger case. You've got the worst of the worst who says, I don't want the death penalty, so I'm going to plead guilty, and prosecutors are going along with it. Why? Because, you know, people watching at home are like, if you're going to have the death penalty, guess what? He's the poster boy for that type of sentence. What are your thoughts on the state saying, okay, we'll spare your life if you plead guilty?
Okay, it's, you know, unfortunately, sometimes we sacrifice principle for good business judgment. And in a case like this, any death penalty case goes on and on and on and on at great expense and everything across the board. And that's what they do. They're making a business decision. Smart to put it on the table, smart to put it out there, and smart to, you know, rally and get somebody as despicable as this individual, who I will say in my 40 years as an attorney, this is perhaps the worst statement a defendant could have ever made on behalf of himself in a matter where you have sexually abused a child and murdered that child. I mean, I have never seen a statement more absolutely disgusting ever. And this is, you know, and the funny part about saying, I wish I could have put myself in her place, but I can't do that. Accept the death penalty and do it, okay? Be a man, take the penalty and go. But that's not what we have here. He's a coward, obviously a coward, and he'll rot in prison, and he will be severely punished in prison.
Yeah, what's
and that's
his,
good.
Jennifer, what is his life going to look like in prison?
I don't think it'll look too good because, you know, there's no good people in prison, but I mean, he's the worst of the worst. And abusing a child, you know, I don't think he's going to have an easy time of it in prison because I don't think other prisoners they'll look down upon him. So he is the lowest of the low and the most despicable, as was said. So I don't think he'll have an easy time of it, but, you know, he gets to go on with his life for whatever that is. And Madeline Soto doesn't. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I agree with Darnell and Al. I mean, he should have just taken the death penalty and he could have, you know, paid for his crime and said he, you know, wished he had changed places. Well, he couldn't change places with her, but, you know, he's not going to have a good life, but he is going to continue to live, and she's not. And that's the sad part about this.
Darnell, Mom, Jen, not there. Your thoughts?
The court TV is in the prisons. A lot of my clients are fans, so I'm glad they've been updated on this case. And so the welcome committee should be waiting for them.
What do you think of Mom? Al, she doesn't show, and she's been a problem this whole time.
I mean, that to me says more than anything that she's not there for that she did not get the opportunity to speak on behalf of the young girl, the child she was supposed to be protecting. Shame on her. She's as despicable as he is, as far as I'm concerned. Yep. And to not have been there, to not have been in support of the rest of the family that was there, it's just deplorable. From the beginning of this case, I could not conceptually understand how she hasn't been charged with something on this. There has to be something in Florida. Of all states, there has to be something in Florida that they could throw at this wretched human being.
Jen might know the answer to this, but I think Child Protective Services should definitely have some restriction from her having any other kids or being around any other kids, at least, at the very least.
How do you stop that?
For sure. I mean, she's guilty of abuse like him. I mean, she allowed this to go on her own child. And the fact that she wasn't there, I think, is very telling because she could have stepped forward and said, you know, she did everything she could or said something, but not even to talk about her own daughter. It shows that she really is still loyal to him. And I think we've seen that even in her interviews and things like that. She was kind of giving him tips and things of that nature and allowed this to go on in her very own home. And to say that she didn't know about it, well, that can't be true because the way that this went on for such a long time with them living together and now her not showing up, I think it's just very telling of what she's all about. It's so sad that she wasn't there.
Yeah, her silence today spoke volumes in terms of all the thoughts that we had about, well, maybe she didn't know, maybe she was just so preoccupied, maybe no. She would have been there today. She would have said something to him, and she just said something about her daughter, and she chose not to. We need a break. When we come back, Tank's going to stick around, and we're going to have more of those emotional impact statements. Oof, Mom wasn't there, but there was a lot of support. Plus, here's a preview of what's coming up next hour on Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, Lori Vallow-Daybell has been convicted in 2 different states for 4 different murders, including her 2 children. She's always maintained her innocence. Now that the trials are over and Lori is behind bars for good, we're asking, will she ever come clean?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Two parents face a jury
over the attempted murder of their own daughter.
Court TV takes you inside the trial that's torn a family apart.
The attempted honor killing trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, only on Court TV.
Stearns, how do you plea to first-degree premeditated murder in 24 CF 1293?
No contest.
It was an emotional day inside the courtroom in Florida for the friends and family of 13-year-old Madeline Soto when her abuser and killer entered his no contest plea for the murder and guilty pleas for the sexual abuse. Here are some of the statements that were made on Madeline's behalf in the courtroom.
Today I stand before you with a broken soul. I am Madeline's grandmother, but to her I was not grandma. Madeline always called me Mama. She decided that since she was little. And that's how I felt with her, like a second mother who loved her with all my heart. Sometimes it's hard for me to close my eyes because I still hear her laughter. It was free, sweet, and sincere laugh. A sound I will never forget as long as I live. But that laughter was silenced by a horrific act. The very man who betrayed her trust, her innocence, her body. And if that wasn't enough damage, he took her life. And with her, he killed a piece of our souls. Since then, life has never been the same. Our family is empty and broken. There are days when the pain is so great that I feel like I'm drowning. And every time I think of everything she could have been, everything that was stolen from her, it hurts even more. Because Maddie wasn't just a victim. She was a little girl with a beautiful future, with a unique light, with so much love to give and receive. Today I am here because Maddie can no longer speak, but I can as her grandmother. As someone who loved her with all that I am, I come to ask for justice for her memory, for everything she lived through and should never have lived through.
I ended up living under the same roof with a man who took a life of a 13-year-old girl, and with that shattered an entire family. What is the point of having dreams, plans, and opportunities if there is no life? If there is so much evil in the world? How can I explain what I felt and how this has affected me, especially considering that this same man took nude photos of my body without my consent, violating my privacy? I felt invaded, outraged, degraded, anguished, and absolutely shattered.
I miss your laugh. I miss your smile. I miss your big, beautiful blue eyes. I miss doing the little things like picking you up from school, helping you with your homework, even though we both hated doing that. I just miss you and your presence. But that unfortunately was taken from us. I have so much hatred in my heart, specifically for the creature that's sitting in this room today. And no matter what happens or what justice could be brought, it kills me that it doesn't bring me back. I would give up my life if it meant having you here with us. Even though I was your aunt, you always felt much more like a little sister to me. Doing your hair for the father-daughter dances that my dad would take you to, letting you pick out clothes from my closet, doing your makeup and making sure it was very light because your natural beauty was worth more than any makeup product money could buy. I just miss you every single day, and it's left a hole in my heart from the day you've been gone. Your innocence was taken from you, and since clearly that wasn't enough for a certain someone, so was your life. I'm so sorry we found out too late. But despite everything that was happening to you behind closed doors, you still remained one of the happiest human beings I've ever met. Someone who loved us deeply and made us all smile. Trying to find light in this horrible situation is very difficult, but one thing I am grateful for is that your last day on this earth was everything you wanted and more. You got the birthday you asked for. Your best friends were able to be with you. We cooked the food you specifically asked for, and overall, I have the memory of sitting outside by my pool looking at you and your friends and just thinking, I'm so glad she's having a great time. And look at how grown up she is. How she's blossoming into such an amazing young woman. I could go on forever, but I just want to leave this here by saying I love you so much, and I miss you endlessly. Everything I do from now on, any accomplishments, any decisions I make, anything that happens in my life, I'm going to do it for you and in your honor. I love you, Madeline Sophia Soto, and I hope you're resting peacefully now.
From the moment we found out that Maddie went missing, life has never been the same. Those first 48 hours, we set out to look for her. We spread flowers, went knocking on door to door, going to every business down John Young Parkway from Kissimmee to Sand Lake, asking for the public's help. All while seeing my best friend and her family have emotional breakdowns, feeling completely helpless and terrified for Maddie, thinking how could anyone just take her? It turns out we spent almost 3 days looking in the wrong location because Stephan lied to us about where he last saw her. Your Honor, that's the first time in my life I've ever felt true hate for anyone.
I asked the court for something that I know I could never really have, justice. Because real justice would mean that Maddie would be here with us and not you. You still get to wake up every day, something you cruelly stole from her and from us. The way you discarded Maddie as if she was nothing and her life had no value is a true reflection of your evil. The suffering you caused her should be given back to you tenfold. You do not deserve peace. You do not deserve mercy. You deserve to carry the weight of her pain every single day, just how we will carry it for the rest of our lives. And let me be perfectly clear. Where you go after this life will not be where Maddie is. She is in a place of peace surrounded by love. You, on the other hand, will never know peace. You will never see her again. You're not going where she is going. You're going to hell.
Because of the actions of this brave man, I will never meet the woman she is becoming. And I can't grasp it. I can't grasp the selfishness of you, the deplorability of your actions. You're depraved. You're weak. You're a coward. You're a sneak thief. You crept into a family and took advantage and exploited them when they were weak. It's torn my family apart. It's led to arguments about who can go where and who can get what and who can help who, but we're all on edge because it doesn't heal with time. This isn't like other deaths that I've experienced. This just gets worse. It just gets worse every time I rethink about it and the true horror of what this man visited upon her. And I can only hope that he lives a long time in prison and has those same horrors revisited upon him by his fellow inmates.
Tough day in the courtroom for all of those people that loved Madeline. Our think tank still with us. Al Wunschdeith, Darnell, Crossland, Jennifer, Brant. Al, what do you think he was thinking while listening to all of these people talk about him and her?
Well, we saw what he was thinking because he gave a statement, and he gave a statement that shows what kind of a deplorable individual he actually is. And it irks me greatly that they allowed him to do a nolo contendere plea on this, that poor child didn't even get the satisfaction of him admitting in open court that he murdered her. She didn't even get that satisfaction. And it's so troubling to me that they allowed that. And this man got to sit there and listen to these stories and listening to this heartfelt just angst that was going through on the death of this child. And of course he showed no emotion because he has no emotion. He's not human. And the sad part is thinking about if Jen was there, okay, what she would have said. And I think I know what she would have said. At least I don't have to worry about the Woody Allen conundrum anymore. Because that's what kind of a piece of garbage she is. Oof. Disgusting. This is just disgusting.
One of the people that called him a creature, I like that. Darnell, what about the terms of this plea agreement? He gets to plead no contest, which is a slap in the face to the family. And he doesn't have to he doesn't have to tell them. Sometimes these deals come with, okay, well, you're telling us exactly what you did in detail so that the family knows. That wasn't on the table. Are you surprised by that?
Yes, definitely. I'm surprised. More and more, we find that, again, these prosecutors are perhaps using what Al calls the business decision approach, which I think that when it comes to law and crime and justice, This is anything but business, and it should never be business as usual. You know, if he can't accept that he's going to make a straight plea and not a NOLO, in my practice, sometimes my client want to plead what they call an Alfred plea, and the judge says no, unless you're going to plead straight guilty and admit to what you did, you're not going to be able to plead at all. You're going to have to go to trial. And so these prosecutors are going to have to stop doing these pleas when it comes to the worst of the worst, like these. And if that would have happened, he would not have been able to allow that NOLO. And I'll just say lastly on this, while we can never blame anybody totally, I'm disappointed in the father. He gave, I think, a lackluster victim impact statement. And I think what it teaches us as dads and men, that you need to be there for your children, because if he was, then, you know, a lot of this could have been avoided. And I hope in the future that we realize that the time that we spend away from our children, we allow creeps like this to be able to creep in. So, you know, be there, be present. That's the best defense against this stuff.
Oh, yeah, dad's one thing. What about mom? Jennifer, do you think there is any scenario where this is not over for Jen Soto?
You know, we don't know why she wasn't charged. I mean, it seems very obvious to all of us, at least sitting here, that she had some involvement in this and at least ignored it, even if she didn't have direct involvement. And you know, I think it does amount to child abuse. It certainly does. But she has no more children as far as we know, no one else to protect. But she shouldn't be allowed around children and shouldn't be able to care for children again, because clearly she can't. So there should be some criminal liability, but as we understand thus far, she has not been charged.
Yeah. All right, well, hopefully we don't say Stephan Stern's name anymore, because he is, as you guys have articulated, the worst of the worst. And today he pled guilty in Florida. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. When we come back, new details in the disturbing case of a teen charged with the murder of a paddleboarder in the state of Maine. Stay with us. Welcome back to Closing Arguments. We are turning our attention now to the state of Maine, where a 17-year-old boy who was on vacation with his family has been charged with murder. 48-year-old Sunshine Stewart, known to her friends as Sunny, went paddleboarding on July 2nd and never returned. The following day, Sunny's body was found near an island. Authorities say she died from strangulation and blunt force trauma. And for 2 weeks, there was no word on the suspected killer. People there on the island at the campground, at the Micmac Cove campground, were wondering, is it one of us? Who did this? And then on Friday, we learned that 17-year-old Devin Young of Frankfort, Maine, was arrested and charged with the murder, and prosecutors intend to try him as an adult. He was there, according to prosecutors, camping with his family on vacation. And the owner of the Micmac campground spoke out to ABC's Good Morning America today, saying that she saw Devin Young on campsite surveillance footage around the time of Sunny's death, and she observed his bizarre behavior after the murder.
Went back to the surveillance cameras to see where he was at the time, and those surveillance videos indicated he was on the lake at the time. The fact that this individual was in this campground for 2 weeks is haunting. He was not on anyone's radar. That whole week, he was offering campers help with different tasks that they were doing. He acted like nothing ever happened. He volunteered. He said he had some information, and he took him in the opposite direction of where Sunny was found.
Yeah, so he's there for 2 weeks, and volunteers. First, he's going around, according to her, helping campers with little chores. And then when police are there, he volunteers some information about what he thinks. He says, I would go that way when the body was the other way. Wunsch is still with us, along with Darnell Crossland and Jennifer Brandt. Darnell, what's your take on this boy? A lot of people were thinking, all right, we're going to see this Grizzly Adams kind of, creature in Maine as the suspect. And here we have a 17-year-old boy on vacation with his parents.
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to my mind is why. And we as lawyers, we really aren't trained to come up with the whys. We employ experts depending on what our defense may be. Same thing with the prosecutors. They employ experts, depending on what their theory may be. But more and more we're seeing that people are saying, perhaps it's mental health, perhaps there's something wrong. But, that might not be the answer. Maybe there's just some real evil in the world. And again, it's becoming more and more less tolerable. And so I really don't have an answer as to why they would do this, but to be able to try to cover it up shows that there's some criminal mindedness there to act in that way after this happened. And that's a shame.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Al, no surprise that this 17-year-old is going to be charged as an adult. At least prosecutors are going, that's their goal here. The closer and closer you get to 18, the more likely you're going to find yourself in adult court. Do you believe at the end of the day he'll be tried as an adult?
There's no doubt. I mean, 17 is considered still to be a minor in Maine, but certainly they'll be making an application to bring it up to charging him as an adult. And, it's interesting with regards to motive and anything along those lines. To my knowledge, Crawford Pond has never been used in any of Stephen King's books or novels or anything along those lines, or short stories about Maine, which, is one of his big areas he talks about all the time. But this now presents a perfect type of story where you have this location that is remote, wooded, and this tragic event. And it's just a horrible situation with a 17-year-old that is, out of control. And I said, it's almost a Stephen King type novel.
Yeah, he is a maniac. He lives up in Maine. And to that point, Jennifer, the backstory here might be important from a defense standpoint because it's out of a horror movie. You've got a woman paddleboarding, and then this 17-year-old, according to prosecutors, butchers her and kills her, and then acts normal for 2 solid weeks with mom and dad on vacation.
I know, it's scary. I mean, I agree with Darnell. There's definitely some criminal intent here. And this woman, as far as we know, she was an outdoors person. She was pretty skilled in paddleboarding and all kinds of things outdoors. So she looked like somebody who was, capable. This didn't seem to be any kind of accident, but it's unbelievable. And then he goes and he posts pictures on Facebook and says that he's doing well and helping people at the campground. All along, he knew what he did. So this is not a child. This is somebody who definitely should be tried as an adult and who definitely thought about this, knew about this, and his actions are scary. I mean, he needs to be somebody that needs to get off the street as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of just throw in there that I'm very disappointed, and I think we all probably share my sentiment that this happened in Maine, and Al missed the punchline in not saying maniac.
Al doesn't usually miss punchlines, that's for sure.
Yes, not at all. I was going with Stephen King, so it really wasn't a punchline type thing. But
All right, thank you all, as always. Al Wunsch III, Darnell Crossland, and Jennifer Brandt. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know. Plus, here's what's coming up next hour on VPI. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, Chad and Lori Daybell, a couple of doomsday preppers that had an affair and left at least 5 people dead in the aftermath. Their Hawaiian honeymoon was cut short when they were arrested, and now the Doomsday Bells are both locked up. But Lori says she still loves Chad. The question is, does Chad still love Lori as he sits on death row?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
Convicted killer Brian Koberger will learn his fate for murdering 4 Idaho college students and come face to face with the families of his victims.
The sentencing of Brian Koberger, Wednesday morning, only on Court TV.
All right, welcome back. Time for something else you need to know. Let's put it up on the big board there. Today, testimony continued in the attempted honor killing murder trial in Washington State. Ihsan and Zara Ali are both standing trial for the attempted murder of their own daughter. Prosecutors say Isan nearly killed his daughter when he strangled her at a bus stop. The teenager, Fatima, took the stand here. She survived after her boyfriend and other bystanders jumped in and stopped the attack, the alleged attack by her father. Fatima claims she was trying to run away from her parents to escape a possible arranged marriage in Iraq, and that her father had apparently threatened her with an honor killing. Here is a look at some of today's testimony in the case.
At what point of your investigation do you recall you became aware of Fatima Ali?
Well, when I spoke with Haneen and Zara, they had mentioned their daughter.
Do you recall during the course of your conversation with Zara Ali whether she made any statements about Isaiah specifically?
Yes.
And what did she say about Isaiah as it related to her daughter?
She stated to me that Isaiah was changing her daughter's mind and that he was a danger to her.
During the course of your interaction with Zara Ali, did she indicate to you whether she had observed Isaiah punching her husband?
She did.
Did she indicate what that looked like?
She made gestures with one of her arms in a punching motion, or like a rapid punching motion.
During the course of your interaction with Zara Ali, did she ever ask you about the health or welfare of Fatima?
She did not.
Did she ask you about Fatima at all?
She asked to speak with her.
And just speak with her?
Yes.
Did you take statements from anyone at the scene, or did someone else do that?
I did not. Officer Chavez did.
Okay. What did you do next?
About this time is when somebody was beginning to enter the scene.
And what do you mean by that, enter the scene?
With where we were, things were right there off of Mullen. There was a woman that was walking in from the parking lot of the Timberline High School.
And how did that woman appear to you?
She appeared to be upset.
Did she make contact with you?
Yes.
Okay. And can you describe that contact, please?
So initially, I was trying to get her to wait where she was. And ultimately, I had to stop her from entering and going past me. And then she was yelling.
Okay. Do you recall what she was yelling?
Initially, she was saying things to the effect of my husband, or something to the effect of this is my husband.
And you said initially, was there something else she was yelling, or that you can recall?
It eventually would change from that to, I think it was something similar to leave him alone.
Let go of my hand. Let go of my hand. This is my husband. That's fine, but right now he's being detained for a criminal investigation. And as of right now, until we get to the bottom of this, okay? Okay, that's for us to determine. That's for us. Stop. 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 This is my husband! No!
What a case. They'll be back at it tomorrow in Washington State. Before we end this hour, there's a picture we need you to see. Take a look. This is Gracie Jade Vincent. She is 17 years old, was last seen on July 8th in Ponchatoula, Louisiana. If you have any information about where Gracie is tonight, please call the Ponchatoula Police Department in Louisiana. That number is on your screen, or you can call 911 or 1-800-THE-LOST. Let's see if we can get Gracie to a safe place tonight. That's all the time we have on closing arguments, but don't go away. We have another hour of live true crime coming up next on Vinnie Politan Investigates.